Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kokomo Bobkast here on the Kokomo Post Sports. And it's going to be an interesting episode for many reasons. One, there's so much chirping before the recording even happened, but that's what happens when you bring up football, specifically college football, with me. But yeah, it's going to be a fun episode. So you guys had a break last week, so we don't have any games to recap or talk about. So we're just going to chat this week. We're going to talk about the games coming up this weekend and where we're at. But this is a fun episode. This is the one when we officially decided we were going to do the Bobcast again this year. This was the episode I was excited about.
Yes.
And it's happening.
It's
here we are.
It's real testy in here today.
It's good. It's good. I like it. We're feeling like, competitive spirit going on. So we have Coach Cliff with us, and then also Chandler. And you guys know each other, I guess, a little bit?
Yeah, I guess
a little bit. Yeah. So the Father Son episode. This is what I've been waiting on. I want to hear all the stories. I want to hear, all the things. But let's get into it a little bit. This weekend, a really important game on Friday night. We talked about it last week. It's Friday night in Memorial Gym against Medora Timberjacks.
Yes.
Last time we played Medora,
we came out flat as a pancake.
Yeah,
it was one of those strange nights. I mean, everything that could go wrong did go wrong that first half. I mean, from us being flat, from us not closing out, not following the game plan. I mean, everything was just totally off kilter.
Yeah. So I said last week, I feel like it's gonna be a blowout in the favor of the Bobcats. I'm calling it. Because who was with us last week? I forget who it was,
Hawk.
But it was Hawk. Yeah, that's right. And he was mad. That game frustrated you guys. It did not, like you're saying, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And because of that, I hope if you came out flat last time, I hope you come out on Mount Everest this time. And we've just got like crazy energy, and we want to win. We want to get that W back. And not only did it, it always sucks to lose, but where we're at right now in the standings, that win would have been nice. To get that win.
That win would have set us up perfectly for this playoff run we're going to make to get to the second spot. Medora was the key for the weekend to be 5 games in 5 nights. I mean, 5 of our last 5. Right now, we're 4 out of the last 5. So Medora's game would have been the perfect send-off to All-Star break and the best kickoff coming from the Easter break.
Yeah. So, Chandler, tell me about this game coming up. What's the vibe with the team right now? Am I right? You're angry about that last loss. You want to make up for it. Where's the where the team's head at right now?
I'd say guys are real determined to get that win. I mean, it's I would say we're super focused.
Yeah. So I asked you when you walked in, and I'm like, "How was your week off?" And you're like, "What week off?" That was his response. So just because there weren't games, the Bobcats are still practicing a lot, going at it. So what is it like practicing in a week where you're not leading up to a game rather than it's just a full practice week?
Most coaches, they kind of make it awful, but I will say my dad has he found a way to energize guys and have them excited to come to practice. It was real competitive. We basically just competed the whole 3 days.
Nice.
I made last week a competitive week. We have a little thing called the kitty. When guys are late, they put money in the kitty. So we had a lot of competition that whole week where they can try to win some of their money back.
Okay.
Put in the kitty. So guys came to practice every day. It was like guys were mad at each other, but happy to be going against each other. It was, I got to get my money back because I don't want no one else to have my money. So it was real testy, and we got a little testy at times. Guys got real angry at each other, but also.
What's the entry fee to this kitty? How much money are we talking gets thrown in there?
Oh, it's in the hundreds right now. The kitty's in the hundreds right now, so we got to spend some of it. So
how are we going to spend?
Every game we have a shooting contest before the game.
Okay.
And pregame.
Like a warm up thing, yeah.
And it's $5 to $10 a man, so they get a chance to win $5 to $10. Now that $5 to $10 that's the tip money for when they go to eat. So they ain't got to worry about coming out of their pockets. So it's fun. And then the day that we, every day we had a competition day, and it was at hand $20 a man. End up $20 a man for all the things we did. So
that adds up with a large team.
Yeah. So guys, like I said, guys got real chippy, and they wanted that money. So, I always say money on the wood make it all good.
Love that. Yeah. So, how were practices this week? I mean, like I was asking him, when you don't have a game at the other end, I could see it being really focused. But how were practices this week?
Well, last week practices were really great. I mean, we like I said, we competed and we did things to sharpen up what we do. This week we come in with a little bit more focus. We had our first practice this morning from the break, and guys were really focused. We have a couple new players coming in trying out for the team. So guys are really understanding. Hey,
that'll put you on your toes. Yeah.
Yeah. We released the player Avery last week. We brought in a couple guys in, and we ended up releasing him. So guys understand everyone's job is not secure right now. You got to make sure you find a way to do what you got to do and keep your job.
It's really interesting too when you talk about professional sports, and I've heard something not in the professional sports world, but at a company, just everyone's replaceable.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's true for a sports team. That's true for, honestly, any company. But in the world of professional sports, and it's so competitive, that changes the whole mindset. Everybody's just got this really competitive mindset where when you start bringing in people for practice and they see that, competitive mindset should kick into overdrive. Do you see that happen?
All the time. I got my first dose of that my second year in the NBA. I was playing with Detroit Pistons and #1 pick. So after the second year, I'm starting to feel good about myself. They told me I'm part of the future. I'm part of the future. Next thing they trade me for another player, and I was like, but I thought I was part of it. No, it's
business, man.
No player is indispensable.
Yeah.
So it's about the moving pieces, what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, how to bring other guys into the fold. So to make your team better.
Was that when you got traded to the Bulls?
No, that's when I got traded to Atlanta.
And then you went to the Bulls?
Yeah, I went to the Bulls. So I chose to go to the Bulls.
Well, I was going to say, that worked out.
That worked out.
Because you had a good career with the Bulls. And if that wouldn't even stayed in Detroit, who knows what your career would have been like. So it all works out for the good.
The Bad Boys now. I would have been part of the Bad Boys.
That's true. That's true.
So,
yeah.
I ended up going a roundabout way to get to where I need to be.
Sure.
But I got there.
Yeah, it's a journey for everybody. And like I said, that's just a profession in general. But I was just curious, in the world of professional sports where it's your job to be competitive, when you see somebody creep in that gym that you don't know.
I always tell guys, when you see someone your size, look like they play your position, you better have
a great practice.
Because bottom line is, you got to look at this. Every year, there's at least 300 guys coming out of college every year. If you're playing pro ball, you got to know if they're coming out and they want to play, they got to go through you. So if you don't sharpen your game up and understand, you better get your competitive juices going. You're not going to be in the sport long.
Yeah, just being comfortable does not exist.
No, not at all. Not at all. Even if you have guaranteed money, you still got that young guy coming in trying to take your spot. You think about it. You coming out of college, you look here, that's who I want to be like. So if you want to be like him, you got to take a spot.
Yeah. There's a Mark Cuban quote. I feel like, work like you always know someone's trying to steal your lunch money. Every day you go to work, somebody's trying to take that from you. What are your thoughts on that? When it comes to a practice, and maybe there's not somebody new peeking around, sitting on the side, or maybe they're in practice compared to somebody there is. What's that vibe like? Is it different? Is it almost like a different team is practicing?
I would say sometimes, and it depends on more so who it is, because certain guys you're going to get the same thing from them every day, and then some guys they step it up.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to who in what position really.
Okay.
Intensity picks up.
So tell me about the new people. Who do we bring in when we released Avery?
Well, I'm looking at
or it hasn't been decided yet.
It's not been decided yet.
Okay.
I'm trying to shore up my fours and my fives right now. A rim protector. I'm looking for a rim protector and a post player. So someone's going to play in the post.
That is something I've noticed, and maybe it was the addition of the Canadian teams. I'm seeing more height this year than I did last year.
Yes.
Is it more consistently? I'm seeing like that 7 foot, that 6'10", 6'11" type of person in the league more than I did last year.
So in this league, the 6'10" and under usually is a good barometer where you want to be, because you get too big, they can't guard on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. But if you go too small, then you're going to get out rebounded. And right now we have to shore up our defensive rebounding and post play.
Yeah, and that's something interesting. I mean, over time, the NBA has changed as well, like what type of league it is, the speed of it, maybe the style of ball. I mean, I've heard a lot, like Steph Curry has changed the NBA in a big way, and like how he plays and how he's successful. The TBL, I'm guessing that could change from year to year.
Oh, without a doubt. Everything dictates on who wins the championships. If you notice, whoever wins the championships, that's when everyone starts to shift that way.
That's the style next year.
That's the style of the next year. So. Yeah. So like even with football, same thing.
Go blue.
You start to change.
Yeah, 100%.
Man, you start changing how it's played.
Yeah. You look at a guy like Mike Vick. Right. When Mike Vick came in, before Mike Vick, a scrambling NFL quarterback
was not
a consistent scrambling. It didn't exist. And he kind of changed the game in that way. Now you even have people like Josh Allen, who is a great pocket thrower, but he's also mobile, or Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
That, those two guys are kind of shaping that league the same way what we're talking about happens in the NBA.
NBA, like I said, once a team wins championship and they were shooters, all of a sudden everyone wants to go to shooters. But now it's going to change back around where there's going to be more post players. A lot more post play coming in.
Like I said about Steph Curry, that's probably true because, Golden State, that crazy year they had, that's all they had were shooters. And they just didn't miss. You had 3 or 4 people on the court at a time that they could just shoot it up whenever they wanted to. And it was, it was going to go in. So, yeah, that's interesting. So how does a team, I guess, keep up with that? We don't really talk about this, but like scouting in the TBL, what's that process like? And do different teams do it differently, or how's that work?
Everyone does it differently.
With the TBL TV, I'm guessing that helps.
Well, we have TBL TV. We have Instat, a program that scouts teams for us. And, with the TBL TV, everyone has that. Instat is another subscription or another venue that a lot of teams can choose to do or not do.
Gotcha.
We try to use every tool as possible for us to be able to scout teams, scout players, find players. So we look at that the Instat a lot of times too for matchups. How can we match it with the different teams? How can we pose our will on a team, and how can we take their strengths from them? So that's a great tool for us. We use that all the time. Speaking
of stats, I was looking at, before you guys got here today, I was on just the TBL's website looking at standings, seeing where we're at. And so overall, we're 4-7. That's our total record right now, because remember, that doesn't include the Canadian games, which even if it did, we were 2-2 with those teams right now. So it would have came out similar style record. But one stat really stood out to me, and it can mean a few different things. So we're 4-7 overall. But then you look at, and this was the TBL's website, so I don't know, it's probably accurate, I guess I'd say. Points for, we've scored 1,131 points.
Correct.
Throughout the season. Do you know how many points against we have?
Against us? It's lower.
It's 1,131. We have the exact same points for than we do against right now. Mind-blowing stat. Take away the 4-7, but then we have the same for both. The odds of us having the same, but in general, but that really tells me, I guess that could mean one of two things in my head. One, the losses we've had were close.
Correct.
We've had a lot of close losses. But then the other side of that too, some of the wins we've had were larger, so it equals out. But that stat blew my mind. But for a team that's 4-7, normally you would see that, and you'd see probably a lot more against than you'd have for when you have a 4-7 team.
So when I talk to the guys every Monday, we have a recap, and one thing I always say to them is, you can ask him, it's the little things. A little block out right here, offensive rebound here we let them have, a fast break.
Yeah.
It comes down to the little things that our record be just as easy flipped if we did those little things.
Yeah.
And most people say that and they're like, well, we can flip the records, but honestly, with this team, the little things we've done at the end of a game or didn't stay focused at a certain part of the game makes the difference in us winning and losing.
That's something I've said, I guess, to my staff before is micro changes can make a macro difference.
100%.
Especially when you're playing like a long game of something, whether it's us like working with a client or working on a piece of content, little changes or little differences you're making throughout that long process could make the end thing completely different.
And the way I get them to understand and see it visually, you take an angle, a 45-degree angle where it starts, and then look at where it ends down the road. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
And that little gap, that little bit just makes a big difference. If you change that just a little bit, it shrinks it or increases it.
Yeah. So, I mean, thoughts on that one stat? I found that, like I said, fascinating for multiple reasons. But, I mean, that really shows. And I said this a few weeks ago. In my head, we're not a 4-7 team. You know, and there's a few reasons for that. One, because like we're talking about, we've had a lot of close games that literally the last 10 seconds could have made a big difference. But also, too, we're physically a different team than we were when we started 0-5. You know, so I mean, it's just crazy to me. Usually, when you see a 4-7, the points 4 and the points there, it's a wide range, right? Ours were literally the exact same number right now. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean. Like you said, we're kind of a different team too. Plus, a lot of those games we weren't at full strength. 4 of those games we didn't have our head coach.
Yep.
We was fudged for like 3-4 games.
Yeah.
We missing a bunch of guys here and there. So
yeah, and it's true. You know, those little not full strength. I mean, you were out traveling for things you had going on, and Fudge, obviously a great player, but also just a great leadership figure for us on and off the court too. So I mean, I don't know. I found that stat amazing.
Well, that's amazing because in 2 parts, because the team we have, it's like a night and day. We're that team that you don't want to see come down stretch of the playoffs or the first round of the playoffs because indicative of what our record is, you're gonna be in a dogfight, and you know it. You're like, I'd rather play this team that I've played and we're pretty much even opposed to this team. Look like we're better.
It's on the run, hitting your stride at the right time. And it's interesting, too. You know, I mean, you look at like an NBA season, which is 82 games, I think is what it is. I mean, you look at a college basketball season, they've got a lot of games. TBL season is short.
Very short.
You don't
realize
what
how short it is. You realize
especially in a league where those first month and a half, the guys that are playing together had never played together before. Never. So you have that melting time where you're trying to like really figure out how our team melts. I know we've said it multiple times, like making sure you got the right people on the bus in the right seats on the bus. Yes. That takes a minute, right? Yeah. So that's tough for that TBL that has a shorter season. But like you said, I hope we really can turn it on the second half of the season and make a run, and be that team that you're talking about that people are nervous to play at the end, where you get to the end of the season due to that short season, every game matters so much.
Well, these guys right now understand where we are right now in the season. We are at the point where we can either fall off the cliff or make a new path to go around the mountain. And right now we're making a new path to go around the mountain right now. We're retooled. Guys are focused a little bit more. We got a little more continuity. We got some players like with Hogback, brought more continuity, more familiarity. And then, like I said, these new guys are understanding what it is we're about. They're understanding our identity. Defense first, offense second.
And it's tough too. I mean, I'm as big as Bobcats fan as any other guy, but if we pull it off, I know you'd rather me say win in that situation.
There you go.
Because the rest of the schedule, I mean, it's not an easy schedule.
Well, our last 5 games on the road.
I know.
Then that's going to be the real test of what we're really made about.
What a story that would be, though, right? Imagine because the first 5 were away.
First 7.
First story's sake. The first 5 were away, and we lost them. Imagine we flip that script, and the last 5 we win them all.
That's gonna be.
Tell me a
great.
story that would be, and those 5 wins could get us to that playoff.
So everything is written perfect for us to have a great ending and a great story to tell. Now we just have to go out there and make sure we take care of our business in front of us.
Yeah,
and that's what I tell the guys every day. Worry about what's in front of you, right in front of you, and worry about what's behind you. Know where you came from, but know what's in front of you and what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, one game at a time type of attitude, and just go to work. You know, in those last 5 games, I don't know, you hear this a lot, but like that's a business trip mindset. You're going to go there and get the job done, and we'll call it there. So, all right, so Friday night, like I said, we're against Medora. That's the game we're going to win by at least 30 points in Memorial Gym. I'm calling it. If I could log on to like a sports book on my app, I'd be betting right now. And then Sunday, we're against the Lebanon Leprechauns.
And we need the fans to travel with us. There's only about an hour, 20, hour and 15 away. We need you guys to come and rock that gym at Lebanon. And
is that a similar vibe to Memorial Gym, like high school, like older high school?
I have not been there yet. This is our first trip there.
At home.
Yeah, this first one.
Never mind.
So now it's like we don't really know what to expect, but we need our familiarity with our fans chirping and getting us going.
They had a good away crowd when they played here. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
They had like some cowbells going on. They had like some classic like Indiana basketball noisemaker type of things going on. You're right. Yes. I mean, I'm guessing if they bring that away crowd, they're going to have a good home crowd too.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a pretty good home crowd. But I know Bobcat Nation. Bobcat Nation, we travel in packs. Mm-hmm. We going to bring it, and I know you guys are going to come to that game and support us.
What time is that game on Sunday?
Game's at 3:00 on Sunday.
Gotcha.
3 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, and like just get a bunch of people together, tailgate it out, drive together and be fun. I know we did that last year a few times.
Down to Indy. We packed the Indy gym.
Yeah.
So
well, that wasn't hard. That was more of a conference room that had a basketball court, in my opinion, more than a gym. But that's fine. So that game on Sunday, both games, very important games.
Very, very good. Both of them are staple games.
We've got to come out 2-0 after this weekend.
Well, and also with Medora, that brings us back to 2-2 with them.
Yeah.
We beat them down there, and they beat us down there. They came here and beat us, so we have to beat them this time so we can even that record out.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that game. That game's work, like I said.
And then with Lebanon, we got to go up one. We have Lebanon 3 more times, so we have to. This got to be a staple game for them to know that, hey, Bobcats is here. We're in second place. They're in last. They're at the bottom of the tier, but they're coming at us.
Yeah. So that'll be exciting. All right, so let's talk. Let's talk a little familial conversation. And I brought this up a little bit when you were on the show with Sam a while back, but I didn't get too deep because I wanted this moment to happen. So let's talk. What was it like? And I could get real deep with questions today. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to, but what was it like growing up with a dad that played in the NBA? What was that like?
For me, it was just
pretty normal.
He's just dad.
Yeah. I guess when I asked that question, all right, you're going to make me go deep. All right, fine, we'll go deep. I guess when I asked that question, when it comes to, you obviously are a professional basketball player now.
Yeah.
Growing up in that home with a dad, in a weird way, I can relate. Because my dad owned a business growing up. And there was kind of always that question for my brother and I in the back of our heads, like, are we going to work for the family business? Is that going to be our path? And my dad, every time it got brought up, my dad had the same answer every single time, was you'll do better things. So dad kind of didn't make that an option for me. So I guess I'm in your head, in your house growing up, did you ever think about maybe I'm not going to do basketball, maybe I'll do basketball? Where was that at? What was that like growing up?
So when I was younger, I was actually better at baseball.
Okay. There was once a famous basketball player who tried baseball too, wasn't there? Or something.
So, and then I started growing, like basketball a lot more. And then on top of it, he always was, if you want my help, I'm here.
Okay.
He never really forced it or anything like that.
So what was that like for you? That could be tough, I'm guessing.
Well, all my kids, I never really pushed basketball.
You started late, right?
Yeah,
too. You've told me that before. Yeah. You didn't start playing organized ball until how old were you?
8th, 9th grade.
8th, 9th grade, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I always wanted them to choose what they wanted to do. If they wanted to play football, I was behind them. If they wanted to play baseball, I was behind them.
Or just become an engineer, or something like that. Yeah,
it didn't matter. As long as whatever you want to do and you put your heart in it, that's all that mattered to me. And with Chandler, he was one of those guys who didn't want to do anything until he wanted to do it.
Where did he get that from?
Yeah. No, he didn't get it from me. He got it. He's like my brother was.
Oh, okay.
100%. Well, his sister and I would go to the gym, and I said, "Chandler, you gonna go?" I don't know. I may go. And then if I say, no, you're going to go to the gym, I go to the gym and try to make him run. He would walk. I would say jump. He would slide his feet. He did everything opposite that I wanted him to do. So
there's a word for that.
It was to the point where, you know what, this is useless. If you don't want to be here, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
He said, okay, I'll go home. So it was always a challenge with him. It's if I can make him do something, I would be great. I'd be happy. But if I couldn't, I got frustrated as hell.
So it's a lot of you had to use a lot of reverse psychology growing up, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of parenting
but a lot of times that
strategy.
didn't work with him because he was too damn smart.
He was too smart for it, yeah.
He was one of those guys, he would tell you something that you knew was wrong, but he made it so believable that you thought, well, maybe
he's right.
He's right. And so, that was always him. So it had to be when he was ready to do it, we'll do it. And until then, you couldn't trick him. You couldn't do nothing, so. So
when did it switch in your head? Okay, I'll do basketball. When did you, I don't want to say give in, but it sounded like when you're like, all right, I'll go that path.
So I stopped playing baseball in sixth grade.
Okay.
Right when I was in the fifth, beginning of sixth. And then I kind of just was playing, but I wasn't really playing.
Because you played in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I got to high school, and then played freshman, sophomore year. I got to my junior year, didn't play much. I got frustrated sitting on the bench. Hated every second of it.
Sure.
So then I finally called
That's
him.
why they make those uncomfortable, by the way. Because nobody should like sitting on the bench.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Then I called him.
It's not like, oh, I sat on the sofa. There's a reason. The benches aren't comfortable. Yeah.
But I called him and was like, okay, I really want to do this. I actually think I can do it. It also didn't hurt that year I grew 4 inches. So
that'll help.
Yeah.
You grew 4 inches between sophomore and junior year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 6'1", 6'2".
Okay.
Actually, I tell you what, I grew going into my sophomore year. I was 6'1" my freshman year, and then ended up being 6'5" by my sophomore year.
Gotcha.
I started playing. I was starting that year. I was playing well, and then I got to the next level, and it just didn't translate.
The JV to varsity?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need help, and who probably would be better to help me than somebody.
Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, I remember.
I was going to say, it's probably one you won't forget.
Because at that time I was working with his sister more, and she was a little more dedicated, and she wanted it more than he did, and it used to frustrate me because he was more talented, skill-wise than she was, but she worked hard. So it was like, come on, how can I find a way to make him just as workhorse as she
driven?
is?
Yeah.
You know what did it? Well, when we got in the gym together, I used to literally hate having her do stuff better than me.
I was going to say, there's a sibling thing going on here.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's not going to, no.
Not going to happen.
Like I said, so skill-wise, he was better than I was, or his sister was, his brother was. Just the motor part was trying to get him to connect. Okay, I got to do it all the time, not just in my drill.
Yeah.
That's different. That was the challenge right there.
Understanding the grind that goes into. Yeah, because that's the cool thing about, anybody that has talent is worthless without the work, next to it, right? That's anything in life.
Yeah, well, also, when he's smart. He picks up everything very easily. So intelligent-wise, he's like, well, I get it. It was no biggie for him, no rush for him to get it because everything else came easy to him.
Sure.
So he just, basketball will come to me.
Yeah.
But basketball is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You got to put the time in and the work in. Just like you said, talent without work is useless.
Yeah. So it's okay. So then you have decided, all right, fine.
Yeah.
I'll ask the old man to see if he can help train me or anything like that. So that happens. And then now I want to go to you. What was it like for you, I guess, being who you are, having the career that you had, watching your son play in whether it was high school or college and not be the coach and not being able to step up or even because we've talked, you said he did a really good job of letting the coach during the game or anything like that. In my head, if I were you, I'd be on the sidelines yelling, coaching, trying to do all I can, but especially because you're a coach at that point. What was that like?
Well, it was easy for me because I've always been that person who listened to all these sideline dads coaching and everything.
It's a thing, right?
And it used to bother the hell out of me. And I said, I never want to be that guy. So I made it a point to sit back and be a fan. After the game, we'll talk about the game a little bit after the game and critique the game and tell him what he needs to be doing, how he needs to go about doing it. But I never interfere with the coach. When the coach is coaching him, that's his job. Just like I don't want a parent telling me when I'm coaching a kid how to coach his kid.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's like
the mutual respect of that relationship.
He says that, but little thing. Spin move next time. Jump hook. Get your left. You'll say little things like that during the game, but that's.
Well, I'll say key things.
I will say like that compared to some of these psycho parents. Is nothing. I mean, it's nuts what some parents behave like. Which honestly, this is a topic of conversation in general. There's a huge job shortage right now in like high school officials.
Oh yeah.
And the number one reason is not the players. It's not how the games change. It's the parents. It's the parents are psychopaths when it comes to their 14-year-old kid, playing a game that who knows what that'll turn into. Like, it's the parents that are causing that.
Well, and the parents, they ruin the whole beauty part of the game because they're living, most of those parents are living through their child of what they should have been doing. Opposed to letting the kids experience and enjoy that ride. They're trying to re-ride the ride again. It's like they've been through it. Oh, I could ride this ride again. And it destroys the understanding and love of the game. Because a lot of these kids are playing sports because of their parents, not because they want to play. And most of the kids, if you notice, most kids will start off young, end up fading in high school because they're burnt out.
Yeah. And it's, once again, due to the parents.
Yeah, the parents are pushing them.
Yeah, which is sad, and and I get it too. I have a 8 and 6-year-old, so I'm not there yet. Where like sports are
be there.
Intense. I think I told you like my daughter.
He will be there.
My daughter swims, so and she loves it still, and she swims competitively at the Y, and like she loves it. So we're still there. We're like, I could see her for sure swimming in high school if we keep that path. And yeah, it's tough because, you're caught in the middle of that. You want the best for your kid. And you're also, not wanting them to be burnout like you're talking about or, learn to hate it. And you had something to do with them learning to hate it. But you also at the same time want to teach your kid grit. And you want to teach your kid not to quit and go through the hard things. So I feel like sometimes it's tough to walk that line. Sometimes can be a difficult thing for.
Well, you know what? I'm a firm believer and let the kids be a kid. Let them have fun doing it. And when they have fun doing it, then after a certain part, like I said, my gauge is 6th, 7th grade. That's when you start working on the skill part. Up until that time, let them have as much fun as they want.
Sure.
Let them enjoy it. Let them get a real love for the sport. Don't spoil it for them early. A lot of kids grab that love for the sport earlier, but you still let them have fun. You don't put a lot of structure on them where they're structured. Got to go to training. We got practice. We got specialized training. You're putting too much now. They can't have fun with their friends and do things with their friends. So when you let them enjoy the game and then have fun with your friends, but when it gets to a certain point now you decided this is what you really want to do, we got to go this direction.
And it's tough too. And Pam, who works for us, I think I told you she grew up in Naperville. So like really big high school in Naperville outside Chicago. And she's told me before, when you hit that 6th grade, because that's such a large school and there's so many really talented athletes that just come through that school, you really at 6th grade, you've got to decide your path.
Right.
And like that's tough for a 6th grader.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Basketball. You got to stick with it because the competition's so tough.
Well, you know what? It's still they can play two sports at that time. You let them figure out which one is going to be the best for them. So you don't choose for them because if you choose for them, it's going to be like, well, Dad made me play this, but I really wanted to play this. And or if you do that, then it's going to be a resentment toward one of the sports or the other. So let them choose at that point. Let them play 2 sports all the way through when they get to high school. When they get to after the junior year in high school, sophomore year in high school, you got to pick direction which direction you want to go.
Yeah. So my last question just about this whole thing is, what's it been like? This year specifically, you guys are together a lot, I'm guessing. You're at practice of your games, or you're talking Bobcats. And I remember my dad worked with his dad. And that was honestly, I think, one of the reasons my dad never really wanted me to go into the business, because their relationship wasn't the greatest because they worked together all the time, and he didn't want that, for me and him or my brother and him. But what's that like? You know, you're at practice. There's obviously a vibe. When you're at practice, it's business. We're talking, you know, basketball. We're talking team, trying to get better. It's competitive. What is your relationship when practice is over?
See, I think it's harder for him than me. Is there a break? I think it's harder for him than me because he's got to deal with the players more so than I do. And when you're the coach's son, it's a little ragging goes on between the players and the coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, players.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but it's probably real.
He has a harder time than me. With me, I already know when I'm on the floor, I'm coach. When I'm off the floor, I'm dad. But he has to balance that fine act because there's some days in practice he challenges me because he doesn't want to feel like, well, I'm the coach's son and he's going to. No, I gotta show that I.
Yeah.
I'm
you're not getting a free ride just because you're the coach's son.
So, like I said, he deals with that more than me. I don't deal with it. It doesn't matter to me. It's done with it.
Is that true?
I mean,
some real to that, I guess.
I mean, I get some jokes here and there, but for the most part, a lot of time guys have, being one of the older guys too, they don't really get too much. They get some jokes in here and there. Yeah. That's about it, really.
Yeah. So I mean, you think you do a good job of practice is over. He's dad again.
Yeah.
I could see that being difficult, especially at this level. You know, where it's a lot on the line. We're talking like this is your profession now. I mean, I could see that being difficult.
I mean, plus I'm not gonna lie. During training camp, he made that real apparent there was no special treatment.
Well, I
set the tone. Right?
I'm very hard but fair.
There's such a story with that.
Very hard but fair. I'm not going to show favoritism to nobody. You have to earn your way. You have to earn your keep. If you want to be on this team, earn your keep. And I tell them all the time, you can be cut any time if you don't do your job.
Sure.
And
it might make Thanksgiving weird, but that's the reality, right?
Why would it make it weird? You lost your job, not me.
That's why it would make it weird. That's exactly why. Well, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys know that I've been teasing that I've been looking forward to this episode, but I appreciate you guys coming on and honestly being kind of like vulnerable, and talking through that and what it's like, to be father and son and, working together, playing with each other. I mean, that means a lot. So I appreciate you guys coming on here and chatting through all that.
Always go green.
You're playing Lebanon Leprechauns this weekend. You can't say go green. That's not something you could say. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode of the Kokomo Bobkast. Like I said, we got a home game on Friday against the Medora Timberjacks. That's the one we're going to win by 35. Like I said, keeps going up the more I talk about it. And then on Sunday, make the trip down to Lebanon.
But don't wear this color.
Don't wear this. No green. Color. No green allowed.
Wear blue, like Michigan blue, not Michigan State green.
That's true. See, that's always a good rule, actually. That's on Sunday at 3:00 in Lebanon. Let's pack that gym. Like I said, they had some people, a good amount of people, come to our gym and watch. So we got to return that favor. But thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Kokomo Bobkast.